9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling network on the planet.
TGIF, good people, thank God it's Friday, and welcome to another edition of WWT Live as part of Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling network on the planet. They call me the professor around these parts. You can call me Gerard, GB, the professor. I don't know what other names you might want to call me, but I think those names work. We've got a lot to talk about today, as of course it is Friday. There's Smackdown, and all of you who may already be in the international space may have already watched it. No spoilers. I promise you, no spoilers. And if you come in the chat with spoilers, we might kick you out. Now, TK probably won't let me do that, but is she even here today? We'll get into all of that. Hey, we've got a lot of ground to cover. And so let's kick things off. First and foremost, let's see. It's 2 days after Wednesday. So that means at least there could be an elite sighting showing up. That means Courtney's here. Courtney, how are you?
Yeah, TGI, happy TGIF. And of course, have no fear, your timeless elite is here.
I'm sure you're going to have plenty to say about all things from Wednesday night. We will get into it for sure. Since we are repping the ladies, we've got to go to the sweetest Oos, who will be spending some time with everyone after the show today with our Smackdown watch along. Of course, it is Wrestling with Honey. Honey, how are you?
I'm doing well. Happy Friday, everybody. We are back and I am very happy to be here. I'm just excited to be here. I've been missing my Honey Night Smackdown watch alongs. Shout outs to Courtney, who's been holding it down for your girl. But we are back in business tonight.
For sure.
The bees are buzzing.
Well, when you said we are back, I almost thought we were getting an Eric Bischoff reference. I was waiting for Better Than Ever, but no worries. No worries. It is good to have you here. And of course, it's never complete without our elected official who goes by somewhat of a new name. I almost might let him introduce himself that way. I'll just call him the councilman. Will Ferrell's in the building, a.k.a. White Boots, a.k.a. 63 Days, a.k.a. the councilman. How are you, sir?
Eric Bischoff, have no fear. Your councilman is here. Right at the supples.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. You doing well, sir?
No, I went hiking, and I don't get why y'all do this to yourselves.
Oh, there's a whole conversation to be had about that, because I've never gone hiking, but people talk about it like it's...
You're not missing anything. You're not like, just go stand outside, and that's nature. I'd rather that.
Well, something tells me that the person that's about to join us has gone hiking and actually really, really likes it. Ladies and gentlemen, she's been on quite a few trips, so I don't know if she's actually been back since her latest excursion. I'm sure she's probably leaving immediately after the show, but we'll all be very nice and kind because the boss lady is here. The real TK is actually at home. Can you believe it? TK Trinidad, how are you?
What do you mean actually at home? I've been home.
Well, I said I didn't know if you've been like on since you've been back, because your travel schedule has been pretty crazy. So you were here Wednesday, yes?
No, I was flying from Atlanta to LA.
And you weren't here Monday, right?
I was in DR.
Correct. Ladies and gentlemen, you see how she's proving my point. As she went to act like I was being shady, I was not. It's her first time home since all of her traveling. How were your travels, TK the Trinidad?
Wow. They were good. Shout out to ACW. We had quite the time in DR. They were very receptive to us. So it was fun. It was a lot of work. Did get a lot of sleep. And now we're here. And, we're headed into WrestleMania. I was talking to Willie Will about our plans for that. So there's going to be quite a few people from WWT that's going to be in Vegas. So it should be fun. I just don't know when I'm going to sleep. But, we're here.
You don't seem to believe you need sleep. So
you sleep when you die.
Yes. Sleep.
I won't tell you all how I have attempted offline to try to help TK regulate her sleep, but she doesn't listen to me. So
My
God
bed is
bless
very
her.
jealous. If I am not in my bed at least at a certain time, it will text me like, "Where
I
are
get
you?"
it. I
Facts.
Yeah,
fully get it.
bed don't come.
I get it.
Mhm.
So I will do this. We normally do this toward the end. You know what? We'll do what we normally do. We'll do that toward the end. Let's start here. Today is actually a very special day. It is officially the 25th anniversary of All Things Stratus Faction. Trish Stratus first shows up in WWE 25 years ago today. It's actually kind of scary to see that the year 2000 is 25 years ago. That's
Mhm.
another discussion for another day. But let's talk about the impact of one Trish Stratus, who seems to be going stronger now than ever before. Courtney, your thoughts on the impact of Trish Stratus?
For me, I got into wrestling at 12 back in 2002, and she was one of the first women's wrestlers I actually watched on TV. And the first match I actually watched from her, it was her and Bubba Ray Dudley against Molly and Big Show in an intergender tag team match on an episode of Raw. And she was in a feud with Molly. I remember her feud with Victoria. And then when Jazz came back from her injury, she put a lot of work and created a lot of impact in those 25 years. And also, a lot of people always focus on the Bellas doing some mainstream. Trish actually did some mainstream as well. She was on a show called The Weakest Link. She was on Mad TV. She was doing all these other things. And it was really nice to see her branch out a little bit. And also, without Trish, you would have not gotten Alexa Bliss. You would have not gotten Tiffany Stratton. You would have not gotten Nikki and Brie Bella, because when they did interviews, Trish was one of the few people that came up. So, Trish Stratus, congratulations on 25 years. So many matches that she had, but cheers to you and the impact you made in women's wrestling.
For sure. Trish definitely made a heavy impact. And if I can just do one slight fact check, she was actually mainstream before she came to WWE. And that's what made her coming to WWE so significant. And you could actually make the argument that there'd be no Logan Paul without Trish Stratus. Just consider that as a thought. Let's see. Councilman, let me get your thought. Actually, no, I'm coming back to you. Honey, your thoughts on Trish Stratus. I got a specific question for the councilman.
Personally, Trish Stratus was one of my favorites to watch, especially when she first appeared. At first, we weren't sure of what she could do. Back in that regime, it was kind of different when it came to the women, but between the likes of her and Lita, they basically broke through that barrier, being one of the first women to main event Raw. Multiple time women's champion, and she's in a walk of fame in her own right, also a Hall of Famer as well. Went back to being mainstream after already being a part of the mainstream, as a sports model before joining WWE, but she appeared in a series of shows and such. And what I mean, you call it, she's done it. It doesn't matter. Trish Stratus is one of the greatest women in the history of WWE. And congrats to her on 25 years. She deserves.
For sure. Councilman, let me ask you this. Because as people talk about the history of Trish Stratus, I think much like when we were having a discussion about John Cena maybe a week or so ago, people tend to forget how it started for these superstars. And in the case of Trish Stratus, who began pretty much as a manager, her wrestling skills early on were not all that great. Did you foresee Trish Stratus becoming the icon in pro wrestling that she's become based on her first year or two in the business?
Ooh, not first 2 years. Not first 2 years. I will say that. But it is very interesting that you parallel her career with John Cena because they have a lot of similarities. I think more for me when I started seeing her go through a lot of the stuff of what worked, what didn't work, and that she was willing to go through either where you're going to eat crow or it's going to be successful. This is what made me see her outside of just, women in the lingerie. That was it. And so I was like, okay, there's something here because she's a storyteller. They're putting her in. But yeah, I would have to say in that first and second year, I probably would not have thought that we'd be talking about this woman 25 years ago, 25 years later, and that we would be talking about how she is one of the pillars of why we have women's wrestling talk, why we talk about women wrestlers. And I wouldn't have guessed it. She's the reason I discovered Canada.
How about that?
Trish Stratus. Before,
Wow.
I just thought it was maple leaves, syrup, mousses, and mounties.
Wow.
Didn't even know there were cities up there. So thank you, Trish.
Wow.
You are helping with geography too?
Wow. He completely skipped the Bret Hart era, but I know that, and I know why he did that. So TK, let me ask you this, because I am curious. I think oftentimes once we get to the tail end or a celebration of someone's career, we tend to remember the highlights the most. But Trish Stratus was involved in some of the more controversial moments in all of WWE, whether it's being involved with a team called TNA, and they weren't talking about total nonstop action, or being involved in something that didn't age particularly well, and that is being a woman on all fours, barking like a dog in the middle of the ring with Vince McMahon, or being heavily involved, in that whole story that involved kind of the breakup of Vince and Linda and all of those kinds of things. With all of that said, what do you think is the actual legacy of Trish Stratus in pro wrestling specifically?
I think with stuff that you've mentioned, I think in particular with Trish, and I've heard in a lot of interviews, different people have acknowledged that period of time for women wasn't the greatest, but we had to get through that to get to where we are right now. Like, not everything is going to be, just great from beginning to end. Like, that's life. So I think, she stuck it out. If you watch her documentary, and when she even talks about it, like those times briefly, she doesn't really harp on like, oh, it was not the great, she made of it what it was, and she took the opportunity. She saw her value, and she kind of thugged it out. She left when she wanted to leave. She came back after a year. Like, she started a whole yoga, like so much stuff that she did in Toronto while she was away from WWE. People outside of Toronto don't even realize. Like, she had a whole life that was happening, and then to get to that point and then come back and still, when I was in Toronto and she was at Elimination Chamber, people still like as if she never left. Like, that is the legacy right there. Like, just, you can, for somebody to leave and come back and still be remembered and appreciated, not very few people get that. There's people I can name who they think they should get that, and they walk out to crickets. I've seen it. So, what she was just impact. A lot of people have her on their top 5, their top 4 as far as Mount Rushmore's. Despite those, like I said, despite those things that we had to go through that in order to get to where we are. And, if she gave up, then what do you think? Where do you think women's wrestling would be right now? That's the question I have for you, Professor. If Trish Stratus weren't Trish Stratus and she didn't continue, say she just said, yeah, I'm out, I can't do this, do you think women's wrestling would be totally different from it today, or do you think it'd be the same?
Can I add to that too? Can I add to that question?
Sure.
And do you have someone in mind, that back in that time could have taken the place of Trish and still went through what she went through?
So it's interesting because I think as you guys are mentioning this, it's important to remember, to TK's point, that Trish took time away. She actually retired. And someone correct me on the year of her retirement. I feel like I don't remember what year it is. I probably could look it up quickly. But let's see. I'm going to find this because
2006.
Okay, good, because I was going to say 2007. So what's interesting is Trish Stratus retiring when she did. There was still a good 7, 8, maybe even 9 years before the talk of the women's evolution began. So it's not to say that Trish didn't make an impact, because when she left, I think the changes she desired to see were not there yet. And so I think Trish Stratus out of the picture, who were then some of the wrestlers who continued to move women's wrestling to a space of being able to be talked about in the way that it is now. I definitely think you look at a Beth Phoenix. I think you look at a Natty, and I know some people don't like talking about Natalya, but Natalya at that point had the pedigree that people were paying attention to as the last, graduating member of the Dungeon, as blood of the Hearts. She was carrying that particular legacy, and the style that both her and Beth Phoenix wrestled was the kind of style that Trish really wanted to be known for. But I think left before she could get to scrap with those two, which, can you imagine? To me, the bigger question is, would we have gotten to the women's evolution quicker had Trish stayed? Had Trish not left in 2006, would we have gotten to the point? Because think about it. Without a Trish Stratus, who at that point was by far the biggest and most recognizable mainstream name for women's wrestling, who else would have been the one that could have carried and done the interviews and done the media that was necessary to help support the Beth Phoenixes and because think about it. After Trish left is when we had our first Divas search.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I think this might be controversial, but I think she left too soon. In terms of, if she had stayed longer, I believe before she retired, we might have gotten to the women's evolution a bit sooner.
Yeah, because in 2007, the only women that were there were Candice Michelle, Mickie James, Tori Wilson, Jillian Hall, and Melina. That was
Think about it. So really, your only wrestler out of that is Mickie James. Think about that.
Yeah.
You had Jillian Hall with this massive thing on her face that the worm eater ate. You had Melina, who was the manager, who was doing splits in her entrance. You did not have the women who were there to be able to wrestle. So I think that we would have gotten to the women's evolution a bit sooner had Trish been able to stay. Either way, I think Trish has left an incredible legacy for many to build on. And there's a lot to be said for that. So congratulations to Trish Stratus. Now, with that said, I want to, okay, I didn't want to quite go here yet, but we're here. Now, let's go here. So Saraya, who actually was a big part of the women's evolution, being the first NXT women's champion, and again, being the anti-diva in her own right, is currently over in AEW, but we haven't seen her much. The last time she was on television was in October of last year. It is being said that her contract is set to expire in September. And it's possible that she may not be in wrestling much longer. She recently was on a podcast. Actually, she was talking to Sports Illustrated, where she said, quote, "I'm not going to be in wrestling forever. I'm coming to the end of it, and it's very soon. I don't want to go out being like I need to be on top. Now, while her return is uncertain, she does have a new book that's set to drop next week. What are your thoughts? Do you think Saraya returns to the ring? And if she does, what's left for her to accomplish? TK, we'll start with you.
I think we can all agree, and maybe Courtney just stepped, she'll come back. I think we can all agree her run at AEW was lackluster, not due to her what she wanted, because she actually did want to do a lot of other things that just didn't happen. So, and then obviously the tail end of her run WWE was, she was just essentially put on ice. So it's hard to say. Like I feel like somebody who's so passionate, who had been doing this since she was 13, to be doing something for so long, I don't think, and I'm not speaking for her, I'm sure we'll get this from her book, this is not what she envisioned, which is often life for a lot of different folks. So it'll be interesting to see how that will play out. Like, is she's really, I think when we saw her in AEW, like, she just didn't do the moveset that she did at the beginning of her career in WWE. So there's just a lot of things in play. I'm really interested in reading the book to find out. And with all that being said, I honestly just forgot the question you asked, Professor. I'm just kind of thinking where she's at. Like, that's stuff.
Well, that's okay. I was asking, your thoughts basically on her career and if she's going to come back, and if so, what does that look like?
Yeah, would you? I think there's the question. You finally get released from WWE. You were on ice for what, 5 years, 4 years, like a long period of time. You get to AEW. You get to have the championship once in your home country, which is definitely a memorable moment. You get pictures, all that great stuff. But the rest of it surrounding it wasn't the greatest, and I'm pretty sure that's not what she anticipated when she signed AEW. So with that being the two biggest companies, like what I would feel pretty let down from the business, not necessarily the companies. It's just what I envisioned my career to be. Now there is a whole bunch of indie companies that she can, go to. Her, she's known, all the things. But again, she's been doing this since she's 13. So it's either she might be over it because it didn't give her what she wanted, or she might just reinvent herself completely on the indie level and overseas, which might be something that we've never seen before. So it can go one or two ways. Seth is asking to be let in. Because it looks like he's about to get married. So let's congratulate Seth.
Wow. Oh, well, I added him. She took him out.
Congratulations, Seth. Who's the lucky woman?
You're mute.
You're muted, sir.
How's everybody doing? All the constituents in the chat. It's not I that's getting married, but one of my best friends is getting married in exactly 63 minutes. So I just wanted to come on here and let y'all know that. As far as Saraya, I think she got a lot left in the tank. Probably like 63 more months of service to the wrestling industry. And there's going to be a nice interview we did with her in the Queen of the Ring red carpet coming real soon, where she talks about her movie and who she would want to highlight and film next as far as the women's revolution.
Well said. Very good. So let's ask the question: what is there for Saraya to do if she is to return to AEW, and if she doesn't, what's next? What do you think, honey?
Well, I mean, if she is going to be, it depends on her. I mean, I guess if she's going to be a woman of her word and say that she's getting close to the end of it, she might go back somewhere for one last hurrah, some kind, just to end the career on a good note. But how that looks, I mean, there are a number of ways. Like, as Boss Lady said, she could go the indie route, or is it possible that we see her return to WWE? Don't know. I mean, it is a different regime now. Also, she could choose to stay with AEW as well and finish her career there. And maybe enter herself in the Hall of Fame there. She'd pretty much be the first woman entered in an AEW Hall of Fame, wouldn't she, if they had one?
Well, I don't know who they'd put in their Hall of Fame once they decide to do that on the women's side. I got no idea on that, but
Yeah.
interesting. Thank you, Seth, for joining us. Let's see, Courtney. Where do you think Saraya ranks in terms of the women's wrestlers of AEW? Would you put her in the top 10 or the top 5 of women to have wrestled in AEW?
It's an interesting question because I was very excited when Saraya made her debut, and I did not think she was going to wrestle again. But when she was medically cleared, I was like, okay, I can see that. I could see her being in top 10, top 15, because when I look at some of the women within the AEW realm, it's like who made the most impact and also being innovative, not just in the ring, but also outside of the ring as well. And for her, yes, she did win in her home country at All In, but after that, it was just okay, no elevation. Oh, no elevation for that. And they put her with Harley Cameron and had her feuding with Ruby. So that was very odd to say, but I can't discredit anything from her wrestling ability. I just wish they did a lot more storylines. I would love for her to go one-on-one with Mercedes if that was about to happen, since she did come last year and Saraya was under contract, but that is something that I wish I would like to see. But I'm very curious, as Boss Lady mentioned, on what she's going to read in her book, and also finding out she will be in New Jersey in the summer. So that is something to keep in mind. And I'm also curious for her autobiography as well. She's been pulling plugs on it, and we shall see, because her deal should be up by September within AEW.
All right, Councilman, I'll ask you the question. Is Saraya deemed amongst the top 10 women who has performed in AEW, or where do you see her in there?
Hell no. I don't know why y'all acting like she has. Like, look, Tony Khan does not like women's wrestling. I have not seen her brought out to her full potential at all. She was a great manager when I saw her. When she had that little trio, cool. But there are plenty of people when we start getting to it, top 10 is not going to be it. And remember, I'm going to name people that ain't even in AEW right now. You got Jade Cargill, Britt Baker, Tony Storm, Mercedes Moné, Mariah May. I'm already at 5. I have not mentioned Thunder Rosa. There's 4 more slots where you already know you're not finna put Saraya right there. Top 15, maybe. Top 20, definitely. Anything lower than that, now you just being disrespectful. But it's not top 10, and that's because Tony Khan don't like women's wrestling. And I don't know why y'all would think she should finish there, because that's just ass on her career. What she need to do is come on home. Come on home and go stand on the mountain you built. We got the greatest women's division in the world. You are the godmother to all of this, along with AJ Lee. Stand and take your place right now. All them people with Charlotte talking, let Saraya go out there and say, you wouldn't be shit without me.
Period.
You wouldn't be Mercedes Moné. You wouldn't be the man Becky Lynch had I not done what I done. And especially the way they are now, all the matches she can have, let that girl headline a WrestleMania. Let her actually hold a WWE Women's Championship, not just the Divas Championship or the Women's NXT Championship. Let her hold real gold. Let that girl really go out. So when we tell the story of wrestling, her name, you cannot deny mentioning her when you tell the story of wrestling. As of right now, in some ways, you can tell the story of wrestling without her because of career-wise of where she's been now. Come on home. Come on home before you dip. Come do one more run with us. Let them treat you right so your legacy can be secured. Because Tony Khan does not like women's wrestling.
Well, there it is, ladies and gentlemen. The councilman has spoken. And yeah, I'm not even touching that. But I do think that's a perfect segue to what happened Wednesday night on Dynamite, as there were, ladies and gentlemen, and the fact that this is news is even something. There were not one, but two women's matches on AEW Dynamite. Before I ask what I'm going to ask, Courtney, how did you feel about the fact that there were two women's matches on Dynamite? And I know part of what you're going to say, so go for it.
No, actually, when I saw the card, I was just like, there's two women's matches. Bonus points, if you watch my watch along, one of them was the main event, and it was not the match that you thought it was. And that really surprised me. I was very, very shocked. And of course, my client Tony Storm during the match with Chris Statlander and Megan Bayne, because that really did showcase. And it also, one of the things that I did notice a lot, it was they gave the opportunity to showcase the women a lot more during the matches. And also, even in the main event, you had pretty much those two, Penelope Ford at ringside, Tony Storm at commentary, and then we also got to see Willow Nightingale earlier. So I'm not getting my hopes up yet, because yes, you did have two matches on Dynamite, but I would like for it to be consistent, because yes, I said a couple weeks ago, AEW doesn't value women's wrestling, but I'm happy it did happen. But I would like to see some consistency, and also I would like to see a women's match that does have the storyline on the same level as Mariah May and Tony Storm to main event a pay-per-view this year. But I'm very happy that it is a start for now.
Oh, excuse me.
Well, we walk before we crawl, or we crawl before we walk. And, before we ever got a women's main event in the WWE, we had a women's main event on Raw. So that was 2000. And, it was just at this point 6 years ago that we had the first women's main event at WrestleMania. With all of that said, Councilman, you're the right man to ask this question. Here's the question. Does the last match of the night equate to the main event?
Well, I only watched 15 minutes of AEW. So I don't know who went last because I have things to do. So I didn't get a chance to check out this.
Whoa, wait a minute. You
Well
bashed me
done.
off one day
Well
because I did not watch SmackDown and you only watched 15 minutes of AEW and I did a watch along, sir.
I'm a man of my word. Okay. I told you had one more time to not watch this stuff, and I will not watch AEW no more. And you did it. So I only watched 15 minutes of it. I don't know what's going on. Who was the last match? Catch me up. Because I'm sorry, I was doing things Wednesday and I had to go buy my white boots. Okay. I had to go get my white boots. So I'm sorry, I didn't watch this. What was the last match? Can somebody?
Chris Statlander and Megan Bayne was the main event.
Megan Bayne and Chris Statlander.
No idea who Bayne is, but okay. If the Statlander went up against Bayne, I'm sure it's a very strong woman individual that she faced. I like Statlander though. But to answer your original question, is the last match the main event? Nah. Because we've definitely seen on Monday Night Raw some matches that definitely should have been the last match of the night, and it wasn't. And they ended with like Mick Foley Jr. being the main event. And I was like, that is a bad closer. So no, it isn't. Not all the time. Depending on how it's built, but it's not always the main event because it's the last match.
Honey, let me ask. No, I'm coming to you last. TK, is the last match of the night the main event?
I feel like it should be. in the order because I like order of things. I feel like it should be, but I think the question is it part of a story, an overall story of what's happening for the day, and or is this something people want to see? So if it fulfills one of those two things, like, oh, okay, this is a story that they're telling, and this is how they're going to do the crescendo leading into whatever, then I'll take it. But if it's like, this is a really good match, and we've been seeing the two dominant people for whatever it is, whatever title, then that makes sense. But for it to just be a match, I'm not necessarily for it, but I'm just a Canadian trying to live in America.
Just a Canadian. Honey, I want to do this for you because, we've been getting a couple of answers here and there. I'm going to read to you the card from AEW Dynamite this past Wednesday night.
Okay.
And as I read this card to you, I want you to tell me the main event.
Okay.
Or better yet, man, this is for everybody. Pick the match that causes you to tune in. Here they are.
Oh.
There is the International Championship Eliminator Tournament. It's a 4-way between Orange Cassidy, Speedball Mike Bailey, Mark Davis, and Ricochet. The winner faces Kenny Omega at Dynasty. Then you have the TBS Championship. The CEO, Mercedes Moné, defending against Billy Starks. You have the World Championship, a street fight. Jon Moxley versus the Rated R superstar Cope. And that is a rematch from the main event of the last pay-per-view that happened 10 days ago. And then you have, you have the aerial assassin, Will Ospreay, against AR Fox. From there, you have Chris Statlander versus Megan Bayne. What's the match you're tuning in for? What's the main event?
Were the titles on the line?
Yes. Both of those championships were on the line.
What match did the AEW title? What number match was that?
Oh, I'll get to that in a second. I just need to know what y'all say is the main event after you've heard this card. And this was the card that was promoted as well. 2 championship matches. TBS championship match, Mercedes Moné, the World Championship match. You had a fatal 4-way at the top of the show for the number 1 contender for the International Championship. You had Will Ospreay and AR Fox. You had Megan Bayne and Chris Statlander.
I'm either putting Mercedes match or Will Ospreay's match as a main event.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm
Me personally.
I'm sitting there.
Because I mean anything that Will Ospreay does, like he's always putting on a banger match as well.
Mm-hmm.
And with something on the line, it's all or nothing. But yeah, if you're talking main event, you have to have somebody like Will Ospreay in there or Mercedes Moné.
Well, for Dynamite, I'm gonna go to Fatal 4-way. And just because I think that would help with your international title, especially how you're trying to push Kenny Omega, the ending of him holding that championship up to the winner and it going off with the credits, I think would have been a great closer.
Well said, Dylan. Well said. Well said. Courtney, All Things Elite. What's the main event? What's the match you're tuning in to see?
It would be
You said fatal 4-way match?
Fatal 4-way match because, again, Kenny Omega, he wants challengers, and also it'd be good enough for him to see whoever won that match to see eye to eye with him.
TK?
Ospreay. LA was just, well, I mean, I know every state or city is different, but LA was all for Ospreay, so I'd say Ospreay.
Ospreay and AR Fox as the main event. Here's what's interesting to me. Nobody said the match that actually closed the show.
What was your pick, Professor?
My pick would have either been the fatal 4-way or the world title match, if for no other reason than it's a street fight for the world title. That's the rematch of the main event of your last pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm.
The point I'm making, and not just that, but the stories for that one and for a couple of the other matches were far better stories. The point that I'm making is just because a match ends the show does not make it the main event.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we have to acknowledge that. I know we want to, say, hey, it's great that there's a women's match that ended the card, but ending the card does not make you the main event. That match wasn't promoted.
Right.
That they didn't talk about that a ton on Collision or on your previous shows. There was all this talk about a rematch for the world title. Why in the world is a rematch for the world title the third match on your card? The third match out of 5 matches. And it's a far more entertaining match than the actual pay-per-view match. So I just think, again, as I said before, what we have in AEW is an issue when it comes to programming. There's not, I don't know what's happening there. I don't know if it's a phone or somebody's playing a keyboard somewhere. But the strategy for programming this show is phenomenal. I loved starting it hot with the Fatal 4-Way. But if you're going to start it hot, you got to end it hot. You cannot end it with a women's match, which we weren't even told it was a number 1 contenders match or not. We don't know what the stakes are. Tony Storm is on commentary. How does that end up being the main event when it's not the story that's being told? So whoever's programming that show has to do a better job of programming the show. You can have 5 great matches, but you put them in poor order, you don't leave feeling the same. You just don't. So, okay, let me move on.
See what happens? I stop watching, just all goes to crap. See, I was getting better when I was watching. When I was watching, y'all was making hits. The day I stopped watching, heavyweight championship is the 3rd match of the night. That's insane.
Wait, and it's a street fight. Which, by the way, there's a whole conversation. We'll get back to Homicide in a second. There's a conversation that needs to be had for the craziness that happened in that street fight. The fact that there are nails stuck in the back.
Is that the match where he fell on the thing?
Yes,
that was the match.
So you tell me, with a spot like that, how in the world you dare put a match on after that, let alone 2? It doesn't make sense. And that's what I'm saying. And all right. Our thoughts and prayers are with Homicide, huge legend, former Ring of Honor world champion, multi-time TNA tag team champion, who abruptly announced his retirement this week. He did a post on Facebook, and he talked about his reason for retiring. His reason for retiring is because, in his words, he went to the doctor. They found a cyst on his brain. He's had it for months. It's been getting worse. His vision is bad. His speech is bad. He even went so far as to say that it's hard to get on a plane and travel. And so last night was his final match in the sport of pro wrestling. Let's talk about the impact of Homicide. Let's start with you, Sweetest Oos. Honey,
you mute.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, my bad.
I'm like, hello.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, I mean, it takes a lot to be able to step down from doing something you love, much less because of circumstances out of your control. Thoughts and prayers to Homicide. And I personally didn't get to watch him as much, though I would like to go back and do that, considering I've seen clips from his last match. He gave it everything. He gave it all he got. And yeah, we just hope for the best and wish him all the best thoughts and prayers to him and his family and everything that's going on with that. But yeah, like I said, it's not easy to walk away from something you love to do. And you could definitely tell he laid it out on the line on that last match.
Courtney, thoughts on Homicide?
It is always hard because people don't understand the physical part, but the mental part when it comes to wrestling, and also the impact that he created. I actually got to see a few of his matches when he was in TNA with Hernandez, and I do recommend watching them because I may watch a few of the matches after we're log off here. But just the impact that he created, and also seeing the entire wrestling community, most specifically the Ring of Honor side, people were paying tribute to him. CM Punk, Nigel McGuinness, Mark Briscoe, along with many others. And that just shows the impact that he made, and sending him the best of luck and kudos to his final match.
TK, what are some of your best memories of Homicide? I mean, here's a guy who literally has touched just about every major promotion, won championships pretty much everywhere. Some of your favorite memories of Homicide.
I don't necessarily a favorite memory, but Jeffrey actually touched on it as far as like LAX. I remember when I was I think it was when TNA was on Pop TV, and they were making quite an impact there. What I did want to reference though is, when you have, in particularly just appreciating wrestlers for what they do and how they put their bodies on the line for this. And to, whether you hate them or love them, you definitely have to appreciate their work, because this is all a choice. However, they're choosing to entertain you. And so, these things, like, life happens and stuff like that, but definitely, like, just going back, like Honey was saying, appreciating the body of work that he's done. He's been around for a long period of time. And it's, in addition to what Honey was saying, it's never easy giving up something that you love. But also, when I see sometimes on, social media, people are just like crucifying wrestlers, whether they had a bad spot or a good spot or whatever. It's just like, remember that these, they're putting their lives on their line just for your entertainment. So that's kind of really what struck me when, when you were talking about how he went about retiring. So yeah.
Councilman, any favorite memories of Homicide?
Yeah, Homicide is actually the first time I actually got introduced to Chick Magnet Punk. With them, I think it was like Ring of Honor. I saw it on YouTube, and I was like, wow. So that was actually my first introduction to CM Punk, thanks to him. And then I know I'm not gonna remember this guy's name, but it was in TNA. Yeah, I think Homicide was X Division champion. It's some dude that got red in his name.
Amazing Red.
That's it. The match between them. That was another one I randomly saw on YouTube, and I was like, I don't know who this is, but this dude Homicide is dope. Yeah. Those were the two that stood out to me with Homicide. So I was like, those were some great like matches to see just outside of the normal like WWE, WCW and all of those things. But at least he got to have his retirement match. I know it was maybe sooner than he wanted to, but like if you step in the ring, everyone knows they have a clock. And eventually that clock is gonna strike. Sometimes you know it's coming, sometimes you don't know it's coming, but this dude got to fulfill his dream and go all over the world and leave us fantastic memories. So it does suck. Prayers definitely go out to him with like what's going on. Hopefully, God be able to get him situated through that. But thank you, Homicide, for like all of the memories you did give us. And you definitely had a dope career.
For sure. I know my first exposure to him was as part of LAX. He and Hernandez were just an unbelievable tag team. And they were so different from what we had seen in tag team wrestling, and really redefined what TNA and tag team wrestling and quite frankly, Lucha Libre looked like as well. Because again, for those who were accustomed to luchadors primarily being high flying and the like, these guys were that plus power. So shout out to Homicide, and certainly our well wishes go out to him. And as I think about him, I think about a massive interview that dropped today involving Chris Bay, along with Chris Van Vliet, an amazing podcast talking about the accident that he had back in October in TNA and how things have really evolved for him. And he talks about, whether or not he'll wrestle again and his outlook on life. And much to your point, TK, I think it is important that we remember that these wrestlers are people too. And they are literally 1 inch away from their life being changed forever. They literally put their lives on the line every time they get into a wrestling ring. And oftentimes, because of the demand of wrestlers and wrestling fans, it's always got to be more and more and more and more and more. So you think of new ways and new extravagant moves, and it really has potential to put you in great and grave danger. So our thoughts and prayers are with Homicide, with Chris Bay, and just every wrestler who goes out there on a daily basis to put their lives on the line for our entertainment. We greatly appreciate you. So we go from something that's heavy to something that's a little lighter, and that is the return of the Slammy Awards. The Slammy Awards will be returning, and they will be awarded on WrestleMania Sunday at WWE World, and it will be streamed live from there. And you can actually vote right now at wwe.com to see what the categories are, and you can begin placing your votes. So I will tell you some of these categories. You obviously will get the opportunity to vote. There is the category for Female Superstar of the Year. We'll talk about that one because it's Female Superstar of the Year. Also, Male Superstar of the Year, Most Memorable Entrance, the OMG Moment of the Year, Faction of the Year, Tag Team of the Year, Rivalry of the Year. There's also love for NXT Superstar of the Year, along with Match of the Year, the WTF Moment of the Year. I'm not sure how that's different than the OMG Moment of the Year. I'm sure someone will explain that to me. There's the Social Star of the Year and the Breakout Star of the Year. So let's quickly talk about, because it's Women's Wrestling Talk, Female Superstar of the Year. The nominees are Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley, Bayley, Nia Jax, Tiffany Stratton, Chelsea Green, and Io Sky. Who are you voting for as Female Superstar of the Year? TK, we'll start with you.
You sure you read that whole list?
I did.
I was gonna say.
You is there nobody under Io Sky that starts with an R?
There is not.
Yeah.
There is not. That person is up for NXT Superstar of the Year, but that's
okay.
He done that.
Wow,
but what are the criteria like that as far as the voting? I know they listed it, but like for instance, my heart is going with Chelsea, but she had a different type of, like, it wasn't your standard leading up to the championship, but definitely memorable. So I don't know if there's like criterias, but
there's no specific criteria. It's whatever works for you.
I'm going with Chelsea then. Chelsea Green.
Okay, fair enough. We'll get to the councilman who has just returned. I'm hoping he'll be able to be okay. Courtney, who are you voting for as Female Superstar of the Year? And we'd love to get your votes, by the way, in the chat as well.
I'm actually gonna pick Liv Morgan as my pick.
Okay, all right. Honey.
Man, we're going to put some respect on Io Sky's name. Io Sky had a hell of a year last year in a lot of cases, and she continues to get overlooked. So I'm going with Io Sky.
Okay. Councilman?
She's up for NXT Superstar of the Year, not necessarily.
Becky wasn't even here this year. Why is she up there? Becky was here for 3 months. Like, why is she on this list?
Becky? Who?
Huh? Becky wasn't on the list.
Becky's not on the list. Not on the list. Let me reread the list. It's Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley, Bayley, Nia Jax, Tiffany Stratton, Chelsea Green, and Io Sky.
Why is Bayley up here? Okay, never mind. I'm just answering.
Isn't that your favorite horsewoman?
I mean, she won the women's title at WrestleMania.
What? Hello, sir. Aren't you the mayor of Strattonville? I mean, that should be an easy pick for your client.
Listen, winning the championship was great, but that was towards the end of the year. This is the tip of the year right now. So I gotta keep it realistic.
I understand.
Right now, I'm between Liv Morgan and Io Sky. I'm gonna have to go with Liv Morgan just because she's been on TV so much more. But definitely, it's second is Io for me just because of what she's been putting.
Yeah. You got Liv, who was the first ever crown jewel champion, and of course the women's world champion. You know, there's a lot of it's a tough list. It's a tough list. I love EO. I'm actually torn between Tiffany Stratton and Chelsea Green. That's just my look at it. Let me quickly let's go through, since there is talk of NXT, let's go through the NXT Superstar of the Year. The nominees are Obafemi, Roxanne Perez, Trick Williams, Ethan Page, Kaylani Jordan, and Julia.
Well, we know who it's not. We know who it's definitely not.
Oh man.
Courtney, we'll start with you. NXT Superstar of the Year. Who do you have?
Do the right thing, Courtney.
Damn.
Oh my god.
Do the right thing.
I'm being realistic. I'm picking
Opinion.
Roxanne.
It's her opinion, babe.
It is, but I am picking Roxanne Perez because I actually had the chance to see Roxanne compete this past whole year. And also, she was one of the first people I actually watched on NXT, being aware that she trained with Booker T. And also, no, but I am picking Roxanne.
No.
TK?
Do it for Canada. Do it for Canada.
Let me go after. Pick somebody else. I feel too much pressure.
Councilman, we want you to make your vote known to the world. I mean, we know it, but we want you to say it.
I mean, it's Roxanne Perez. Like all 6 of these categories should just be Roxanne Perez. I don't even know why they put other people up here.
Okay. Honey,
no barbershop activity, honey. No barbershop window.
Sorry. Today there just might be, because I'm going with Obafemi.
Dylan, switch our faces on that clip.
On the ruler.
Switch our faces on
Go
that.
with the ruler. I'm sorry.
I'm
not sorry, actually. I mean,
Damn. She said she's not sorry.
But listen, I've been vouching for the ruler for a while, and he just keeps having a more up and up and up kind of year with from oh my god moments to championship moments. I'm going.
Dylan, get the Cena, John Cena hug. Put Honey's face on.
I would love that. Do you know what, Dylan? Do that, please.
Put the professor on the Rock's face because he started.
Oh my goodness!
Wow. And then for some odd reason,
I'm just saying how I feel, man. It's my opinion, man.
Put Courtney by Travis Scott, just because.
Wow.
Shit.
TK, we are back to you.
She be there, but she don't be here. So put TK.
We are back to you.
Oh my god.
In light of keeping our councilman happy, I'll go with Roxanne Perez.
Oh. Wow.
See the betrayal from my tag team partner.
Wow. Not TK yielding to the pressure.
Come on now.
I mean,
y'all know what y'all really wanted to say.
I mean, after TK sent that man his body butter and all the things, and she didn't vote for him. That's
you got
crazy.
the prodigy and you got the ruler.
Crazy. For me, it's really simple. It is Obafemi, and the person who probably should be number 2 on this list isn't on this list, but will be next year, and that's Stephanie Vacour. Double champion. Okay, so I know we weren't supposed to be spending a lot of time on this, but let's go here because this is where I think we're also going to have some real interesting challenge. Breakout star of the year.
Oh boy.
Looks like this: Braun Breaker, Lyra Valkyria, Penta, Obafemi, Julia, Tiffany Stratton, Jacob Fatu, Chelsea Green, Stephanie Vacour.
You deserve this, honey. I just want you to know you deserve this. Man. You deserve this.
What do you mean I deserve this?
You deserve this because now you're stuck in a rock and a hard place. Fatu and Oba, good luck. Good luck to you, madam.
Courtney, we'll start with you. who is the breakout superstar of the year in all of WWE?
Ooh. Ooh. You know what? I'm just gonna rip the Band-Aid, and I'm pretty much gonna be the lone wolf. I'm picking Lyra Valkyria for this award. I mean,
God.
come on.
Sorry.
Because I'm looking at
Sorry.
last year. I mean, yeah. I mean, look, I know people are gonna be snarky about it, but look at what happened, what she did last year. It was not
What
that
did she
great.
do?
What did she do last year?
No. I want you to defend this, Courtney. This is your
No.
choice. It's yours.
Very interested in this.
No.
That's the highlight of her year right there.
No. I really want to hear what Courtney has to say on this one. Tell me what prompted you to pick Lyra Valkyria. Who played the music?
Who played that
That's
music?
funny.
My phone rang. No. My phone rang.
That's really funny. Okay.
So sorry.
Okay.
I apologize, Courtney.
Courtney.
I will say she first showed up on Raw, and also she did had a really solid performance in the Queen of the Ring tournament. Yes, she did not win, but she came in as a young little rookie, and she did prove herself. She was in Money in the Bank ladder match last year. She did not win that, and she did have a solid showing. And sure, there was a few bit hiccups in there because she was put in 6 women tag team matches. And even though she was crowned the first women's Intercontinental Championship, yes, she hasn't done nothing with it yet, but I'm not losing hope. At least something is bound to happen sooner or later. So I'm picking Lyra Valkyria.
Hey, listen, you know what? Something is bound to happen sooner or later.
Yeah.
Now, whether that makes her breakout superstar of the previous year, I don't know. But for anyone who wants to welcome Courtney to your debate team, she is available. All right. So, honey, who are you choosing as the breakout star of the year?
Penta just got there, so I don't think that should count. Jacob Fatu got there in August. Was it August or September?
I thought it was more like May, June.
That was May,
Was
June.
it May, June?
Yeah, 'cause he was at SummerSlam.
Well, even still, it's not entirely the whole year. Nah. I want to say Jacob, but I'm not going to say Jacob. I am going to keep saying Obafemi. Because to go from a rookie into wrestling and never have wrestled before and to still make it the way and to still be on top consistently, run through the roster, end up going through TNA, having the moment that I was waiting on all year with Moose. Yeah, Obafemi. It's not really that hard for me.
Okay. TK, who do you have as the breakout star of the year? She's muted. I was wondering why there was the extreme silence. She's muted.
Oh, sorry, Beulah was barking. I'm gonna say Fatu.
Okay. Councilman.
The fact no one said Stephanie McCurr is wild. Wild.
That is wild to me.
And unlike my client, she got fast tracked to women's North American champion and now is double champion. I love my client. I love the leader of the Big Back Coalition, but he did not do that. And she stole Julia's whole thunder. Never, Oba did not do that. But he is great. Not to say he's not great. Stephanie
Oba has his own thunder. He don't need to steal nobody else's.
That was last. Matter of fact, though, if this was 2024's Slammy and you're going off of 2023, I would give Oba breakout then. I think he has just been consistent now from 2024. Breakout, when you talking about this, it's like, yo, like this is the person nobody was talking about. Now we talking about him. Now we looking at him to see like, oh, okay, yo, what are they bringing to the table? That is Stephanie McCurr all the way in this entire list.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with Stephanie McCurr on this. She, again, think about the way she even got to WWE. Like, this is a woman in June of last year. Everybody was talking about her match with Mercedes Moné. She was a CMLL Women's World Champion, and then just said, here, I'm giving this belt up. And 3 days later, she's on a house show in Mexico. And, you know, she is in and she's been crushing it. They put the entire women's division, the best women's division in pro wrestling, on her back.
Yep.
I mean, so, but listen, you guys can certainly go vote. There are plenty of other awards, and good grief, we probably should talk about some of them because I know there'd be some real conference. I'm so tempted. I know there are other things to talk about, but I'm really, y'all want to do one more?
Yeah.
Because
one more time.
Okay, so let's talk about this because this ought to be some real good conversation. The OMG moment of the year. Here are the nominees: Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns match finish at WrestleMania. Dominic Mysterio turning on Rhea Ripley at SummerSlam. Kevin Owens turning on Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes in October. The New Day turning on Big E on Raw. Tiffany Stratton cashing in Money in the Bank on Nia Jax. Damian Priest cashing in Money in the Bank on Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania. The debut of the Wyatt Six.
Ooh.
That's it right there. That's it.
Wait, there's more. Braun Breaker spearing ISHO Speed at Royal Rumble. Bronson Reed hitting a tsunami on Braun Strowman onto a car. John Cena turning on Cody Rhodes at Elimination Chamber.
Why'd that go up so fast?
Roman Reigns returning at SummerSlam. And Io Sky beating Rhea Ripley to become the women's world champion.
Nah. I stand by what I said. Wyatt Six. There's no way. There's no way. I get the John Cena moment, but that just happened, and it's definitely going to be a moment in future debates. But that's unfair to put that in this one. They should wait to put that in next year.
Wait, I'm actually sensing though that this the time frame of everything that's happened is basically from WrestleMania until now.
Wow.
So that's how that fits in there.
Well, shit. Well, I mean, Wyatt Six returning was nuts. I'm sorry. I understand the impact of. Trust me, there's nobody who loves Cena turning heel more than I do. But I'm Wyatt Six. I stand by what I said.
Okay, Wyatt Six. Courtney.
Woo. I would have picked the Wyatt Six, but I'm actually going to go with the New Day.
There's
New Day was wild. That moment was crazy. Them turning on Big E.
There's literal footage from this network on YouTube of my excitement for that Wyatt Six debut. Yeah, okay. I have to go with that one.
Councilman,
this tough. Because Cena going heel, they ain't right for putting that in there. Also, too, Io beating Rhea was definitely an OMG moment. Like
nobody was expecting that.
I just want to make sure we highlight that on this episode. That is definitely an OMG moment and well deserved. I love seeing Io with a belt. But they shot Chad Gable. Chad Gable died for 2 weeks,
bro.
The feeling I got when I saw Bo Dallas walking down into Gorilla, and I thought that was Bray Wyatt.
The back of him, right? It was the back.
You swear these two just fused together and made a new person. And just the holding up and saying we're here, credits roll. Yo, you can't beat that. Wyatt Six for OMG moment of the year.
That's OMG. If you want to talk about WTF moment, then maybe I'm talking Cena, because that's like boom, like your brain is just boom, like all over.
Like Logan Paul getting all these championship matches before others that deserve it.
So this is interesting. So I'm gonna, since you mentioned the WTF moment of the year, I'm gonna read the nominations for this, and I don't know what y'all are gonna do with this because, well, here we go. The nominees are R-Truth calling Triple H Ciampa
Right there.
Oh, that was funny. That was really funny.
The gift that keeps on giving.
Yes.
Kevin Owens car interviews. Chelsea Green going
WTF.
into the dumpster. Dominic Mysterio in the shark cage. I Show Speed with Logan Paul at WrestleMania. LA Knight in Logan Paul's pool. R-Truth wrestles with John Cena. The rabid noises from Tamatanga. Jacob Fatu saying, I love you, Solo. And the Wyatt 6 debut.
Wyatt 6. It's the WTF. Maybe one of those could be R-Truth, though. Maybe one of those R-Truth moments could belong to that, but I don't know.
TK, we didn't get your answer on the other one, so maybe you can give us your OMG moment and your WTF moment.
I mean, the way, the to go back on the other one, I definitely agree with Wyatt 6. However, if they're going according to the calendar and we're including Cena, I think Cena, and you know how I'm always talking about mainstream media and how it impacts that. I mean, Sed's not here. When we were on the carpet for Queen of the Ring and we're asking some of the non-wrestlers about moments, and it's very clear that they didn't necessarily watch wrestling like from week to week. They were able to reference that. So I think Cena would be that one. And then for the other one, OMG.
No, those were the OMGs.
Oh, so which one? Oh, the WTF?
Mm-hmm.
I thought I thought I switched it.
No, Cena.
So which one was R-Truth?
R-Truth is in the WTFs. He had one where he called Triple H Ciampa and another where he wrestled John Cena.
Why not make that a funny moment of the year? Why does it have to be WTF?
Yeah, I that one I don't necessarily understand, but
You know what? I'll go with Jacob.
okay.
Tonga. Yeah,
Jacob, I love you, Solo.
Yeah.
I would go with like Tomatongas. I do. I mean, it's Wyatt 6 or Tomatonga.
Okay.
Yeah, because
I mean, I'll go with Jacob. I'll go with Jacob in the chat. Jacob's actually in the chat. Like he's been showing up.
Oh, you mean that Jacob, not Jacob Fatu? We were talking about Jacob Fatu.
Ciao.
Lord.
Oh, wow. Really, Dylan? I'm actually downloading your video that you sent me. I'm sorry. You know what? Don't send me any videos. Then you won't get them on the show. But I'm actually going to
Courtney, did you have a WTF moment?
I'm actually going to go with the Wyatt 6 debut for WTF.
Okay. Yeah, so there's a lot. The categories really are great, guys. So all right, let's all right, tell me which one you want to look at. Most memorable entrance, tag team of the year, rivalry of the year, or match of the year. Which one?
I'm down for entrance.
Entrance?
Yeah, entrance of the year.
Okay. The most memorable entrance. Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. Jey Uso on the Raw on Netflix debut. The Rock at WrestleMania. Bayley at WrestleMania. Randy Orton at Bash in Berlin. Seth Rollins at WrestleMania with the Philadelphia Mummers Band. Sami Zayn in Montreal with Jey Uso. Sami Zayn at WrestleMania with Kevin Owens and Chad Gable. Logan Paul at SummerSlam with MGK. Dominic Mysterio at Bad Blood with Liv Morgan in the Lowrider.
Oh, that was funny.
Oh, that was crazy.
or Drew McIntyre at Clash at the Castle?
If that's all you're giving me, I'm going with the greatest luchador,
Dominic Mysterio?
Dirty Dom.
Okay. Okay.
That's closest to Eddie we gonna get.
TK?
There's Jey Uso on there, right?
Yeah, the Raw Netflix one.
Oh, I would have thought it was the Backlash one.
I would have thought so too.
That was
The
That was the
Backlash
one.
one was why I still watch that.
That was
sometimes,
insane.
like just
That was
because.
the one. Yeah.
I mean, I'm still gonna go with Jey Uso just because almost every show, and I can't remember who I was talking to. I thought it was Seth or Evan or whatever. Like his entrances, because if you remember Mania, if you timed it, I referenced this before. I was with Evan T. Mack in the press room, and he timed The Rock and all their entrances. It was like a good half an hour, and the fact that Jay can sustain these long entrances and people are loving it and standing time in, time out, like I feel like that's a memorable moment.
Okay. Courtney?
I'm gonna go with Dom and Liv at Bad Blood because that was a lot of nostalgia in there.
Okay. Councilman?
The final boss had his logo on fire and walked through it with the people's belt. And the final boss entrance engaged. And the new music. Come on now. What are we doing? I love the lowrider, but the final boss, that's the best entrance I hadn't seen in probably 3 years.
Okay. Yeah, there were a lot of great entrances. That Rock one was really tough. It was really, really tough. And for me, for my own personal reasons, I think the Jey Uso at Backlash one was far better than the Raw Netflix one because to me, Travis Scott lighting up a blunt with kids right there, probably not the most ideal move.
No.
So there. Okay. All right. I think we should run through match of the year just because.
There is your main event for WrestleMania. John Cena. What the?
That's actually kind of scary.
My face fitting Cody Rhodes' face so well.
That's kind of scary.
Oh my god, that was so creepy, but that was funny as hell.
That was really creepy.
Oh.
Okay, so
Oh my God.
match of the year. Match of the year. Boy, this ought to be something. Okay. Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre, Hell in a Cell.
Oh my God.
Roman Reigns and The Rock versus Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. Liv Morgan versus Rhea Ripley at SummerSlam. Damian Priest versus Gunther at SummerSlam. Cody Rhodes versus AJ Styles at Backlash. The 2024 Men's War Games match. Bayley versus Io Sky at WrestleMania. Sami Zayn versus Gunther at WrestleMania. Gunther versus Randy Orton at Bash in Berlin. And Seth Rollins versus CM Punk on the premiere of Raw on Netflix.
Why does this feel so familiar?
Because remember, there was like a match of the year tournament or something that somebody did.
Oh, no. The award show we did. That's why all of these things sound familiar now. Yeah, the WWT award show.
End of the year award.
Yeah, I forgot we had match of the year. Okay, because I was like, yo, why do these all sound so familiar?
Oh man.
Who do you have for match of the year?
Does it get any bigger than finishing the story?
I mean, either that or the Hell in a Cell match.
CM Punk and Drew?
Yeah, though that one and finishing the story are like the top two. Everything else, I'm like, nah, y'all can go with that.
No, I think finishing the story would have to. It was the biggest, the most talked about biggest match of the year. Like
Yeah.
even months after, we were still talking about, guys. We're
It's
not
it.
even in the next WrestleMania. We're still talking about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
It's the end game of WWE. Yeah.
it really was, and you had like to be there when the crowd counted 3 is still pretty nuts. Like yeah, yeah, that was nuts.
Okay.
I
Courtney? Oh, you second that. So you're going Roman Cody.
Same.
Yeah.
Okay. Courtney?
Oh, I gotta go. Ending the story was the best match. Even like when Cody got the 3, and people are still talking about that match to this day. So I have to go with Cody versus Roman, WrestleMania 40.
TK?
I said same with Honey.
Oh, okay. Got you. Okay. Yeah. So you guys can vote, of course, over at wwe.com for the Slammies. I'm sorry?
What's your pick?
It's a tough pick, actually, because as great as that match was, the CM Punk Drew McIntyre Hell in a Cell match was incredible. It was downright incredible. And that War Games match,
Yeah.
that War Games match was a problem. That was a problem. So great stuff, though. But I think all of the elements of the Roman Cody match is still something. I just saw a video on Instagram this week of someone who was on ESPN talking about they've never cried at a Super Bowl. They've never cried at the World Series.
Yes,
but
Kyle
they
Brandt from
cried.
Good Morning Football.
Yep.
They cried at WrestleMania 40 during Cody and Roman. And so there's a lot to be said for that. So again, you can vote for the Slammies right now over at wwe.com. All right. So we're getting close to Smackdown airing here in the States. Internationally, it's already aired. So if you have watched it, just do us the favor and not give us any spoilers because we've not seen it yet. So tonight you can look forward to these 3 men all being in the same place at the same time, that being CM Punk, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins. It seems like there will be combustible elements in Italy tonight. Jade Cargill has her first match back in several months as she takes on Liv Morgan, one half of the tag champions. We've got Zelina Vega taking on Piper.
Yes.
And then this right here, good Lord, Braun Strowman, Jacob Fatu. That looks to be a real problem. Again, that kicks off top of the hour on the USA Network. All right. And of course, you'll be able to watch the watch along with our own Sweetest Oos Wrestling with Honey at the top of the hour. So make sure you come back for that, because even if you've watched it, you've not watched it with her. And it's a whole different situation when the family watches it together. All right. Courtney, how can the people find you on these good socials?
They can always find me here. I'm always here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Wednesdays, I handle AEW Dynamite every Wednesday, so you do not want to miss out next week. You can also follow me on my social channels on @CourtneyNJ11 on Twitter and Instagram, because we do have content coming out for Queen of the Ring, also other things. Also, I did post a blog post regarding AEW Revolution where it had hits, misses, what can they do better, and also a few bold prediction matches for AEW Dynasty.
Okay. All right. Councilman, how can the people find you?
You can find me at Betrayals with Honey on all socials. When we start the podcast, the content will be dropping on that YouTube channel of the Betrayal on this episode right now. I'm just hurt. I'm gonna go get this knife out my back once we get off of here.
That's hilarious. So then we'll follow that with Honey.
Yes, indeed.
Shady.
You could find me at I Told You My Revenge is slow cook, and you don't listen, Councilman. So that's number 1. Number 2,
I see. Okay.
You guys can find me here Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays with the WWT Live crew. Tonight, top of the hour, of course, you heard Professor say we got the Honey Night Smackdown watch along. We are back. I'm so excited. Can't wait to see what happened because a lot of y'all already seen it, but we don't like spoilers over here. And of course,
I like spoilers.
Everything. Well, yes, we know you read the end of the book, but then read the middle. We've had this discussion. But you could also find me on All Things Wrestling with Honey on the socials and the Kayfabe podcast as well with my tag team partner White Boots here and Dion as well.
You guys can find me at Bonnerfied across all of the social spaces. You can catch yours truly and TK if you don't get enough of us here. You can check us out as part of Saturday Night Vibe tomorrow night with All Caribbean Wrestling, 6 p.m. Eastern on Tempo Networks. And of course, you can check it out on the mobile app, the All Caribbean Wrestling mobile app. Check it out there as well. You can check me out, of course, with Ashe Wrestling TV every Thursday night. The season finale takes place this coming Thursday, so you don't want to miss it. It'll be highlighted by a great match involving Sonny Kiss versus Darius Carter. You do not want to miss that. That's going to be pretty hot. Again, that's going down this Thursday. If you've missed any of the episodes of Ashe Wrestling TV, you can check it out on the Ashe Wrestling YouTube channel. We're gearing up, of course, for Vegas. Ashe Vegas is going to be insane on April 17th, kind of kicking things off for WrestleMania week, 11 a.m. Special guest commentator, my good friend, the great comedian Kev on Stage will be in the building. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then later that night, in connection with All Caribbean Wrestling, Fighting Evolution Wrestling presents a very unique concept. It's called Sin City Burn. Let's just say it is indeed for those 18 and over. So, it might be your kind of party. So you want to be there for that. All kinds of things are going on. Check me out again on Bonnerfied across all the social spaces. We got fun content and the like. And since TK is home, we will leave it to her to close it up, button it up, lock it up, or whatever else it is that she's planning to do.
Butter it up. You can find her buttering it up.
Wow. Thank you, Bonner. Yeah, that show ACW or FEW is putting on in Vegas is going to be quite interesting. Anywho, make sure you get your tickets if you are 18 and over. You can follow me everywhere at TK Trinidad. Make sure you check out our social media at www talkpod.com. A lot of interviews still to drop. I mean, should I tease it, Will?
Nope.
Should I tease? I shouldn't tease it. Oh,
tease what? You already did. What we
just as Honey said it, definitely don't tease it now. Definitely.
Oh, we have a great interview dropping with a champion from an amazing from one of the amazing top 2 promotions, and you don't want to miss it. So it's dropping next week. So yeah. Other than that, thank you guys for watching Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet.
Thanks for joining WWT. Don't forget to like us on all social media platforms at WWTalkPod. Like and subscribe on all video and audio platforms like yesterday, my G. And check out our website at www talkpod.com. Thanks for watching Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling network on the planet.